Man United beat Liverpool 2-1 to win for the first time at Anfield since 2016. Slot got his team selection and his tactics wrong, and Amorim got both right, and it showed from minute one. Now we'll start off with Liverpool's team selection, and Arne Slot made two big decisions, dropping Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike for Alexander Isak and Dominic Szoboszlai. And if you think about Florian Wirtz, that's now 2 consecutive games that he started on the bench. And when you look at how the game developed and how Arne Slot set up the team, this was the perfect game for Florian Wirtz. Now there were a couple of issues with how Arne Slot chose to set up Liverpool in the first half. And it wasn't really the shape, it was more about the profile of players within that shape. And you can see that Liverpool set up with Ryan Gravenberch in that single pivot, holding the midfield together by himself, linking it from back to front. And then you got a few interesting player profiles in certain positions. You got Alexander Isak and McAllister in the right and left half space, and their focus was on drawing out Luke Shaw and De Ligt. Then you got the likes of Szoboszlai in that number 10/false 9 position, playing away from Harry Maguire, but in behind Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. And we'll come on to Man United's shape off the ball in more depth later on, but they roughly played a 5-4-1 when they were in their deep block. And the main problem I have with this Liverpool setup was the profile of players in their positions. You had McAllister in the left half space, which was fine, but I think Alexander Isak in that right half space and Dominic Szoboszlai in that false 9 space in behind the double pivot of Man United was a problem. I think they should have switched them the other way around. Dominic Szoboszlai would have been more comfortable in that right half space and Alexander Isak in a more central position. And you can see what he did when he moved slightly more central for his big chance in the game. And as Cunha steps forward with the ball, you can see the positioning of Alexander Isak a little bit more central. What he was doing in that first half was playing a bit too far ahead of Luke Shaw, goal side, easy to pick up, and it was just a bit too easy for Luke Shaw to defend him throughout the game. But in this certain scenario, Alexander Isak positioned himself in between Maguire and Luke Shaw, difficult for either player to pick up, and it's a beautiful dart in behind that back line. Beautiful pass by Konate as well, threads him in behind, perfect way to pass that doesn't allow Lemons to come out and press the ball, but it's just a beautiful run. He should probably direct this a bit more into the corner, but I like Lemons' position here. Blocks the ball quite well with his feet, but this is the kind of positioning you expect Alexander Isak to pick up in games. And the other issue I had with this tactic was when Alexander Isak or McAllister drew out those outside centre-backs, there was no Liverpool player making a run in behind. On occasion, it was Kerkez or Bradley making underlapping runs into those areas, but they were doing it from far too deep, far too easy to pick up. It was like some Mo Salah or Gakpo that I thought could make more incisive runs in between the centre-backs. And the omission of Florian Wirtz from the starting lineup was a mistake. If there's any player that would have loved to have been in that left half space instead of McAllister, it's Florian Wirtz. And although McAllister has the technical ability, it's the off-ball movement of Florian Wirtz that would have been useful in this game. He would have been far better in drawing out De Ligt, and Florian Wirtz could have been in these little half space positions, making darts into the box, and even dictating play from deep. But in terms of Man United's team selection, Amorim got 2 big calls right. He dropped both Sesko and Lenny Yoro to the bench and brought in Harry Maguire and put Cunha up front. And we can talk about tactics all day, but Amorim said it in his post-game interview. This was about experience. Big game experience of Harry Maguire and Cunha starting in that high position, and we'll come on to his role in a sec because it was so important in this game. But the likes of Maguire from set pieces was vital, especially for that winning goal. And although we have to give a ton of credit to Man United for getting the result at Anfield, they proved again they cannot press and they cannot play out from the back. And because of that, Amorim chose to do none of these things. Now, off the ball, Man United set up well when they were in a deep block and even in a mid block. And kudos to Amorim, because when they were in that mid block, they did something quite interesting. Mbeumo tucked up alongside Cunha, not too central, but able to recover if needed. And what that did, rather than dropping into a flat 5-4-1 shape, is it allowed them to stop Liverpool playing out from the back too easily. They don't mind the fullbacks playing out from the back, but Konate and Van Dijk have such good ball playing skills, that ability to penetrate through the lines. And as Mbeumo has that central space, if Gravenberch passed that ball to Van Dijk, Mbeumo would go and press and totally leave Kerkez free. And that was the aim. They allowed Liverpool to play to Kerkez if they wanted to. Gravenberch could either think that ball over, which is a bit risky, or in this clip, he plays out to Van Dijk, who plays out to Kerkez, and in that case, Mbeumo just slowly trots over to block any passing lanes. But that was a lovely little mid-block shape. It worked really well in that first half. But on the odd occasion that Man United chose to press, it was terrible. In this case, you had the ball being played back from a throw-in, you got Cunha starting that press, and Mbeumo going to join him and press Van Dijk, as we spoke about before, but the whole of the midfield line and defensive line stayed deep. That ball to Gravenberch is so easy, and he's able to play out from the back, and you can see the reactions of Cunha and Mbeumo. It just didn't work when they tried to press high. Man United were far more comfortable in that deep block, sitting in that 5-4-1, but when in possession of the ball, they did well to exploit Liverpool's big weaknesses, especially that left-hand side, and it worked in the first minute. And as soon as Lamens receives this ball back from Maguire, he's sending that forward. I'm not going to go into the whole head injury and whether the referee should have blown. Let's just assume that this play continues as it is. Now, for any aspiring centre-back, this is a beautiful clip to understand why Van Dijk is at fault for not tracking Mbeumo. You can see that he's in a goal side position compared to Mbeumo. He has no other player to deal with, and even when he turns to look at Konate, he can see that Cunha is making a run on Konate's goal side view. So he should know at this point it's his job to get back in position and track the run of Mbeumo. But as Diallo moves forward with the ball, you can see that he's just totally slacking. Doesn't even really get into a covering position to cut out this pass, which if he thought that was his role, he again doesn't do it great. Ball from Diallo's beautiful outside of his boot, and a beautiful finish from Mbeumo. I expected him to tuck it down that left-hand side, and it probably catches the keeper off guard, but just a lovely power shot down that right-hand side. And this is where Amorim deserves a lot of credit, especially with his team selection. He tried to exploit that Liverpool left-hand side with the likes of Diallo and Mbeumo, but the selection of Cunha up front was key. You can see Matheus Cunha picking up this ball from Diallo deep in his own half, away from the two Liverpool centre-backs. Look at them, totally unoccupied. They don't know whether to go forward and help the midfield line or just sit in their position. And for the majority of the first half, they allowed Cunha to pick up the ball in those deeper midfield areas. And I want you to look at the positioning of Mbeumo here. As Cunha drops deep into that midfield line, Mbeumo isn't trying to push up into that central striking role. He's staying on Kerkez, stopping him from moving out to Diallo, who's off screen here in that right wing back position. And as Cunha picks up that ball, you can see him drive it beautifully out to that right hand side to Diallo's feet. And you can see Mbeumo making that run as he's making that pass in behind and away from Kerkez into Van Dijk's space. And that just prevents Kerkez, again, getting out to Diallo quick enough. And as that ball goes out to Diallo, 1v1 with Kerkez, drives inside, just a lovely little pass to the edge of the box for Bruno Fernandes. And Bruno Fernandes should do a tiny bit better. It's easy to say get it on target, but the quality of this finish just clipped outside of the post. You can see Mamardashvili just nowhere near this. That ability for Mbeumo and Diallo to stick to that right-hand side, pin Kerkez, and then Cunha to play away from the centre-backs and just dictate from midfield was key. And that's kudos to Amorim and how he set up the team. But we have to also give Slot credit. He is so good at changing the course of the game, and he went all-out attack in that second half. He moved Szoboszlai into that right back position, allowing him to invert into that midfield zone and help control the game alongside Curtis Jones, put on Chiesa and Florian Wirtz to float in between the lines, and then the rest of the attackers were just there to outnumber that back line, cause chaos, get the ball into those wide areas and get plenty numbers in the box. And Salah's chance in the second half typified everything about Slot's approach. You got Kerkez in the ball after being slipped through, and look at the amount of players Liverpool have got in and around the box. Totally outnumbering that Man United back line, and it somehow finds its way through to Mo Salah, takes a knee, control, and should do far better. Does it even get this on target, totally wide of the goal? But this is the all-out attack that enabled Liverpool to get that first goal from Cody Gakpo. But in the past few games, Slot and Liverpool have gone from getting that last-minute goal that gets them a draw or win to losing games in the last seconds of the game. And again, credit has to be given to Amorim to start in Maguire in that back line for this threat at set pieces. But there's a couple of things going wrong for Liverpool again and again in these set pieces that I have to highlight in this winning goal. Look at Szoboszlai, Gakpo and Curtis Jones throughout all phases of this set piece. Curtis Jones is in a zonal position in that back post area. Cody Gakpo is tracking the Man United player into the box, and Szoboszlai is man-marking De Ligt, preventing him from getting near Mamardashvili. As that ball is played to Mbeumo, already it starts to crumble. This setup is going wrong from this moment already, and it hasn't even come into the box yet. Mbeumo hasn't even had the shot yet. They don't even know where this ball is about to go. This is Szoboszlai in the middle of the box. Already, he's deeper than the rest of the back line, and he's lost the lip. And if we focus on Curtis Jones, he's already about to make a movement away from that back post area. And Cody Gakpo, although he hasn't made a mistake yet, he's just going out to man mark his player in the box. It moves out to Bruno Fernandes, deflects out wide, and as he plays this beautiful ball into the box, which we'll come on to in a sec, look at all three of those players mentioned. Curtis Jones already is checking his shoulder. He knows he's made the mistake. He's vacated that back post area way too soon when Liverpool don't even have any sort of control of the ball. But then Szoboszlai, previously man marking De Ligt, he's now moving to that back post area, but he starts to move out as well. And as that ball is played beautifully into the box, no person could expect Bruno Fernandes to play this quality of ball. I'm going to highlight Konate here. He's in an okay position. I think he just gets done by the ball into that back post area and a lack of support from his teammates who we mentioned so far. But as that ball is headed in by Maguire, Gakpo is on the edge of the box. You got Szoboszlai just staring at the ball, nowhere near De Ligt anymore. And Curtis Jones is way too late for him to recover to that back post area. And it's just amateurish stuff from this Liverpool team in set piece scenarios. Now kudos has to go to Amorim for how he set up the team selection, and credit to the Man United players for showing the basics, that fight, that discipline when out of possession of the ball, especially in that deep block. And for Liverpool and Arne Slot, this has gone from a minor concern to a major worry. He doesn't know how to get the best out of the players that were brought in the summer and the best tactical setup for this team. And one in particular is Florian Wirtz. I analyze what's been going wrong and how we should get the best out of Wirtz moving forward. So if you want to watch that, I'll link that somewhere up here or up here. For Man United fans, I analyze why you struggle to score goals in open play. One of my bits of analysis actually came true in this game in terms of Mbeumo and Diallo. Watch that video again, I'll link it somewhere up here. If you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode.